While last year was a quiet hurricane season for U.S. landfalls, it was a major year for hurricane research using uncrewed surface vehicles. For the first time in history, one of these devices went through the eye wall of a Category 5 hurricane. This mini ocean robot, called a Sea Star, cruised through Hurricane Humberto last summer. NOAA and Ocean, a robotics company in partnership with the University of Southern Mississippi, launched 5 of these uncrewed surface vehicles, or USVs, into the waters off the U.S. Virgin Islands last summer.
We put 5 of them out there in late August, early September, and sent them into the Western Atlantic. And the idea was to kind of keep them out there and watch, and then ideally direct them into hurricanes, get them into hurricane eye walls, collect data in extreme conditions.
The deployment is the latest effort by NOAA to advance data collection to improve hurricane research and forecasting.
So we have a project underway currently to look at the impact, a systematic look at the impact of the data on hurricane forecasts, particularly hurricane intensity forecasts using numerical models.
NOAA researchers hope to get some answers from the study within the next year.
The other way that this data helps is we send it in real time to hurricane forecasters at the National Hurricane Center. So they see the data and then they can use it and they know better. They have direct measurements of the conditions in a hurricane, and that gives them more confidence in the current intensity and the structure of the hurricane, and also with the forecasts that they issue.
The University of Southern Mississippi played a big part in this study.
They actually helped us do a rapid deployment of a Sea Star.
One of the reasons this method of data collection is so important is because data collection over open waters is still costly and difficult. This kind of robotic technology could become a game changer in hurricane model forecasting when combined with Hurricane Hunter observations.